Okay, I am back, boys and girls. Trust me, there is nothing in this world more humiliating than getting your ass kicked by a doll, especially one shaped like Madeline. Okay. Anyway, so we're gonna move on. We have two 70s musical adaptations to look at, the first of which is from 1972, called Alice's Adventures in Wonderland. Most people associate The Wizard of Oz with musicals, whether they're thinking of the classic 1939 film, The Wiz, Wicked, or The Destruction of My Childhood Dreams. But Alice in Wonderland has had even more musical adaptations on the stage and the screen that most people don't even know about. We've already seen a few musical adaptations, such as with the classic 1951 version, but we'll be looking at a few live-action adaptations from the 70s that attempt to fit into the classical musical mold, the first of which is Alice's Adventures in Wonderland from 1972. The story starts out with Alice being told the story by Lewis Carroll, again played by an overly masculine actor, and again with Alice notably older than Alice Little was in real life. But this version of Alice, played by Fiona Fullerton, is one of the best ever committed to live action. You'd think that her being a teenager would shatter the illusion the way that it usually does when an older actress plays a character who's supposed to be much younger, but it doesn't. She plays the role like an adolescent who's still young at heart and full of wonder.
Everything is queer today. And only yesterday, things went on as usual. But today is turning into the most curious adventure I have ever had.
She appropriately vacillates between being proper and mischievous, both qualities of Alice that Fullerton and Catherine Beaumont got down perfectly. But Fullerton has the advantage of being in front of the camera and not just an animation reference. There's something about her soft voice, her beautiful face and smile, the inner light that she exudes. It's just perfect for Alice.
What a beautiful garden. But how do I get out there? Oh, even if my head did go through, it would be of little use without my shoulders.
Although this film isn't as widely talked about nowadays, it did boast a who's who of British talent of the time, both in front of and behind the camera. Michael Crawford, who most people know of as the original Phantom from Andrew Lloyd Webber's The Phantom of the Opera, plays the White Rabbit, who's surprisingly not terrifying to look at.
Why, Marianne, what are you doing out here? Run home this moment and fetch me a pair of gloves and a fan.
Legendary British comedians Spike Milligan, Dudley Moore, and Peter Sellers can be found as well, although you'd never know it's them given how much they're buried under creature suits and makeup. Speaking of which, Star Wars fans will rejoice to know that Stuart Freeborn, the man who designed so many iconic characters of the original trilogy including Yoda, designed the makeup for these characters. He made sure to emulate John Tenniel's illustrations faithfully without being vomit-inducing or making modern viewers think that they've stumbled upon a furry convention. I especially love the fact that the playing card characters look like the standard bicycle playing card designs come to life. The sets are some of the best we've seen so far as well, largely aided by the BAFTA award-winning cinematography. This version of Wonderland looks appropriately wondrous without looking cheesy or unintentionally creepy like so many of the previous versions we've seen. There aren't too many visual effects shots in this one, although the transition from the real world to Wonderland is pretty effectively done with the cards up in the air. The falling down the rabbit hole effect isn't great, but nowhere near the worst. It's surprising how few of these adaptations do this effect well. However, where this film really shines is in the growing and shrinking effects, using a lot of forced perspective to pull off the illusion. They still look great today, actually. Now, I mentioned that this film is a musical. Previous versions that we've seen have had songs peppered in here and there, even if they're not necessarily billed as musicals. There were some poems in the books, and poems have a natural rhythmic quality to them, so they lend themselves to song easily. But this version is billed as a musical, so how does it hold up? It doesn't follow the standard musical storytelling structure that you'd find on Broadway, but it does more than just setting Lewis Carroll's poetry to music.
I'm right all the time, so just refrain. Disobedience and its ingredients I just will not entertain. Don't answer me back and we'll be fine. The last word is mine.
It can't beat the 1951 version in terms of iconic songs, but to be fair, no musical version of Alice in Wonderland has quite permeated the cultural consciousness to the degree that The Wizard of Oz has. The best thing that the music has going for it is the beautiful score by John Barry. He was best known at the time as the composer of the James Bond series, but he would later go on to compose the score for 2 Best Picture winners, Out of Africa and Dances with Wolves. Speaking of James Bond, Fiona Fullerton would actually go on to play a Bond girl when she played Pola Ivanova in A View to a Kill. That's right, one of the best live-action Alices was in one of the worst James Bond films. Sorry, Fiona. Overall, the 1972 version is one of the best realizations of the story in live action that doesn't have to reinvent the wheel too much. It doesn't frame the story in a way that Alice learns a lesson or has an obstacle to overcome, which would normally be a disadvantage in a cinematic context, but in this case, it's actually less important. Mostly it's because the presentation is so strong. Other versions would make more of an effort to stand out by putting some kind of spin on the story, but this one plays it straight, and it mostly works. Even though other versions are darker, funnier, more energetic, more ambitious, this one's pretty solid. Well, that was a bit of fun, wasn't it? Surely the next film in our lineup is gonna be just as delightful and family-friendly.
I don't want to cut off your head. I want you to give me some head.
Avert your eyes, children!